Welcome back, students who are taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications. In this series of videos, we're going to be working on the Chapter 20 Summary Practice Test Problems. And I don't know if this is going to take one or two videos. We'll see. Probably, I'm going to try to get through it in one since there's only 6 questions and they're really not that difficult. The hardest part will be looking stuff up. But just remember, I'm just going to work through the problems, but all the idiosyncrasies, if you're just tuning into this set of video, the summary practice test in and of itself, realize that for this chapter, you really do have to read the chapter in order to understand the different terminologies and things like that. I said it in the theory videos, the drill problem videos, and the word problem videos that I wasn't going to cover, those variables because there's just too many of them. Okay, the videos here are more of a process. Okay, here's auto insurance. Here's the process of figuring out auto insurance, but I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty of, well, what's bodily injury and what's comprehensive and what's collision. That stuff you can look up by reading in the chapter itself. So let's move on. And all right, so problem number 1. Now, just be aware, I'm going to bounce through the slides here. See, we're looking at practice test number 1. But what I also did was I put all the tables behind that one problem, okay? And then I got to problem number 2. So as I go through the rest of the problems, I'm going to always be bouncing back up to the applicable table that I need, okay, in order to be able to solve the problem. So just be aware that I'm not going to be going just from one slide to the next to the next. Here's problem number 1, but then I'm going to have to find the table that I want in order to be able to complete the problem. And I'll get that information and then return back to that particular slide for that particular problem. Okay. All right. And again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to telephone or email an instructor. Okay. I mean, this is, there's a lot of moving parts to this chapter, and I felt that this chapter, out of any of them, this one requires, the most amount of memorization. And if you have been watching videos from the beginning, me personally, I'm not about memorization. So this one is kind of like the most difficult chapter for me. But I'm going through the problems just like I'm a student. So here we go. All right, it says Howard Slater, age 44, an actor, expects his income to decline in future years. Let's see here, get my pen. He decided to take out a 20-year payment life policy with a $90,000 coverage. What will be Howard's annual premium? And if he decides to stop paying premiums for 15 years, what will be his cash value? Okay, so he's 44 years old. Come on, pen, digital pen here. All right, so he's 44 years old. And he takes out a 20-year payment life policy with a $90,000 coverage. All right, so we know that in this next table, this table is based upon thousands, okay? So I have to take that 90,000 in coverage, 90,000 in coverage, and I divide it by 1,000. Okay, so they cancel out. I end up with 90, and now I need to find the amount that I'm going to multiply by. So I'm looking at a 20-year payment life policy. All right. So here's the 20 payment life policy, and I have to go all the way down here to the bottom where he's 44 years old. So that means I'm going to multiply that 90 by 2215. Okay, so 90 times 2215, and that's going to give me $1,993.50. Okay, so that's his premium, his annual premium. Now, it says if he decides to stop paying premiums after 15 years, what's his cash value? Okay, so we have to go down to, that's one of his 3 non-forfeiture options, right? Where you have cash value, reduced paid up insurance, and extended term insurance. So we have to bounce down to that particular chart for non-forfeiture. And we're looking at the, 20 payment life column here, right? and it was for 15 years, okay? And we're looking at the cash value. So 15 goes over here to the cash value. So that's $317, right? So I take the $90 and I multiply it by, I'm sorry, I take the 90, not dollars, take the 90 and multiply it by $317, and I end up with a cash value of $28,530. Okay, so that's his cash value. And that's problem number one. So let's bounce down through these tables and get to problem number two. Okay, so let's see here. It says J.C. Monahan, age 40, bought a straight life insurance policy for $210,000. Calculate her annual premium. Okay, so when we look at just J.C. Monahan, you can't tell if that's a male or a female. Sure, it's age 40, but remember, what are word problems are about? Word problem. I mean, you're going to be given information, but they force you to think. Okay, I don't know if J.C. Monahan is a male or a female, but as I read through the problem, it tells me that it is her annual premium. And why is that important? Well, if it's, the tables are based upon a male, and if it was a male at 40, we would use the 40, but because it's a female, we have to subtract 3 years in order to use the charts for a female. Okay, so that's why that her annual premium is important. Okay, it says calculate her annual premium, so that's the first thing that we're going to need to do. And then it says if after 20 years JC no longer pays her premiums, what non-forfeiture options will be available to her? All right, so that's the second thing that we're going to have to do. Basically, we're doing the same thing as summary as the first question here, but with just slightly different numbers. So I have to take the 210,000, okay, and I'm going to divide that by 1,000. All right, so they cancel, so I end up with 210. And now I have to bounce up to the chart here, and we're looking at, again, it's a straight life policy. Okay, so we're going to be looking in this column, and remember, she's 40, but we have to subtract 3. So we're going to subtract 3, and we're going to actually look at 37, and that gives us 1246. Okay, so we take the 210, and we multiply that by 1246, and that gives us 2616. Oops. 2616.60. Okay, so that's our annual premium. Okay. Now for number 2, it says what non-forfeiture options will be available to her. Well, remember there's 3 non-forfeiture options. The first being a cash value, the second being a reduced paid up insurance, and the third being extended term. Okay, so we have to move up, okay, and look at that particular chart. So we're looking at this chart, and let me erase this here. So she has a straight life policy, and it said that after 20 years she's no longer making payments. So what's her cash value? So we're going to look at 265. So we take the 210 and we multiply that by the $265, and that gives us a cash value of $55,650. All right. Now, for the reduced paid up insurance, this was our cash value column, and this is our paid up insurance column. So we have 550 is for our paid up insurance. So I take the 210 and multiply it by the 550. Excuse me. And that gives me 115,500. And then the last is the extended term insurance. And that, remember, that's kind of like just basically taking whatever cash value you have and continuously using that to purchase, more term insurance. So when we're looking at that, and I'll change the color of my pen here. So we're looking at the extended term insurance, and so that is in years and days. Okay, so it's 21 years and 300 days. That one is easy just by looking that up. Okay, so that ends up being 21 years, 300 days. Okay, and that's the answer for summary practice test number 2. All right. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop here, and I will pick up the next problem in the next video.